Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. All the characters in the story who enter into intimate relationships are over 18 years old. The continuous ringing of the doorbell slowly brought me out of a deep sleep. I crawled out of bed before I even had time to peel off my eyelids. I accomplished this feat just as I opened the front door, somehow knowing that by opening it, I would finally finish ringing those damn bells. I began to understand what the hell Edgar Allan Poe was trying to tell us all. All I needed right now was a damn crow on the windowsill. If you'd left your cell phone on, I wouldn't have to bother you with a call, Jeff. I see you still get your firewood delivered in the morning, my ex-wife Janice giggled, focusing on the little guy standing at attention for the morning inspection. It's considered polite to wear clothes when you open the front door, although personally I don't mind your new casual style. I looked down and realized that I wasn't wearing any underpants. It seemed strange to me. Why did I forget to put them on before going to bed? Why is Janice calling me so damn early? I hate to get you out of bed so early, Jeff, but I thought you'd get up to lunch, she grinned. I promised Kendra I'd pick up her cell phone and bring it to campus if I was going there anyway. She said she left it in your bathroom. With that, Janice headed for the bathroom, which was across the room from where we were standing. She took a quick glance through the open door to my bedroom and then quickly stepped in her direction. You bastard, she called over her shoulder, heading for my bedroom. Were you with Amber? She was one of my bridesmaids. Suddenly I remembered why I wasn't wearing boxers. The night before, I ran into Amber at a local watering hole. Somehow we got back to my apartment after the bar closed for the night. Unless it seemed to me, I spent most of the night. She looks like you blew her brains out, Janice exclaimed. I looked over Janice's shoulder and saw Amber sprawled on my bed, wearing nothing but a charming smile. I was proud to notice that her little pussy was a little worn out. Janice's loud speech must have awakened Amber from her reverie. Damn it, I feel like I've been brainwashed, she moaned, stretching out on my bed like a cat and slowly rubbing her eyes. What the hell are you doing here, Janice? I stopped by to pick up my daughter's cell phone. If that's any of your business, Janice snapped. How can you sleep with my husband and still claim that you are my friend? First of all, he's not your husband anymore, Janice. Secondly, if it bothers you so much, we're going to have to stop being friends. I certainly don't want to stop sleeping with Jeff. How can you cheat a guy like him? He has the stamina of an ox and a very restless imagination, Amber chuckled. In short, he is my lover even in my dreams. My friend feels like he used a jackhammer there. It just seems to me that in a difficult time like this, you will be more supportive of me, Janice whimpered. Think of someone else besides yourself for a change. Great advice from a wife who messed with her husband's best friend? About a year, isn't it? Who the hell were you thinking about, Janice, when you were sleeping with Mike? It definitely wasn't Mike's wife or his kids, was it? Amber asked, pulling on her shirt. I don't think you're in a position to lecture me on friendship or selfishness. And, she added, these balls are real, and Jeff told me they're amazing. That's just like you, Amber. Your act in the style of I am holier than you will not work with me. I remember the night you left home with that college guy when you were still married to Ralph, Janice retorted. You cheated on your husband too. Yes, and because of that, I got divorced just like you, Amber admitted. The difference is, I don't fuss and moan every time Ralph manages to get a piece of something other than me. I screwed up, but Ralph, to put it mildly, lacked Jeff's appetite. If he had been even close to a lover like Jeff was last night, I would never have cheated on him. I'm moving on, and so should you. Unlike you, I realize my mistake and I want to make it up to my husband, Janice sobbed. We can be together again, and you're not fucking helping the case. I think you need to get dressed and go home. Can we be together again? Where did this come from? It was only the second time I had seen Janice since we divorced 6 months ago. Obviously, she felt some regret about her actions. Janice, you have no right to talk to my guest like that. Why don't you just find Kendra's phone and leave? I suggested more than gently. Thanks, Jeff, Amber smiled. It looks like we're going to have to deal with this problem as soon as Janice walks out the door. I almost felt sorry for Janice when she stomped into the bathroom and quickly returned with our daughter's cell phone. I saw tears running down her cheeks as she passed me. The door slammed shut, and she disappeared. Amber grabbed my arm and pulled me back into the bedroom. She was true to her word. Everything was spontaneous back then. A friend from work called on Saturday morning and asked me to be fourth in a golf tournament at a nice resort in Delaware, about 3 hours from home. Janice was at a seminar in Pittsburgh, so I readily agreed. I played pretty well and had a great time. Before we went to the club for dinner and the awards, I looked into the men's room. On my way from the bathroom to the banquet hall, I suddenly saw Janice and Mike Reed, my now former best friend, sitting next to each other in a small dining room off to the side. They were toasting and laughing when Janice looked up and met mine. The look of surprise and shame on her face told me everything I needed to know. I quickly turned around and ran back to the toilet. What was left of the hot dog I had eaten recently, as well as the contents of several bottles of beer, forcefully escaped from my knotted stomach. I was rinsing my face when Mike came into the bathroom. I have no idea what he was going to say then. I left it lying in someone's urine under the urinal. When I came out of the bathroom, Janice was already waiting for me. She looked completely confused. "Jeff, please talk to me. We need to figure it out. Mike means nothing to me. I love you," she begged. "What a pity, Janice," I replied angrily. "That dumb bastard just got his jaw broken. We're getting divorced for nothing." I left her standing there. I had a great desire to hurt her, and I knew I would regret it if I did. I've never laid a hand on a woman, but no woman has ever shat on me the way Janice just did. I quickly found my car and hurried home. It must have taken Mike a while to come to his senses and go on a trip. I was just pulling out of the driveway with the last load of my clothes and personal belongings when I passed him and Janice driving down our street. I gave them the middle finger as we passed each other. Janice was driving Mike's car and paled noticeably when she saw me making this gesture. Her cheeks were stained with tears, and her eyes were swollen and red. I wonder how she managed to return without incident in such a state. The court's decision on the divorce came 4 months later. I had been single for 6 months until the day Janice rang my doorbell this morning. Under the circumstances, everything went as peacefully as possible. I didn't tell anyone that Janice and Mike were lovers, but word of it spread through our small town like wildfire. The last I heard, Mike and his wife were living separately. I made it a rule not to move in the same circles as Mike or Janice, so everything I heard was nothing more than rumors. In a few months, I went through all the usual self-evaluations and judgments. I felt betrayed. I felt humiliated. Often I just felt sick. Am I really that inadequate as a husband? Didn't I do all my duties? Had Janice turned to Mike in desperation? I was feeling depressed by the time the divorce was obtained. Then everything began to change. Now it turned out that many women found me acceptable and even adequate. Pretty soon I began to realize that I was more than adequate. At least that's what my friends told me. The anger was still in me, but it was starting to dissipate. The feeling of failure and inferiority gradually gave way to confidence. I have dated several women and had more than in the entire last year of my marriage. The silver lining on the thundercloud finally began to show. However, I still had a problem. I just couldn't forget Janice. Everything reminded me of her, every day, in hundreds of little things. She was my partner, friend, lover, and confidant. Now I had to consider her my enemy, and that made me feel uncomfortable. After 20 years, it's hard to just turn off your love and devotion. Kendra was angry at her mother, but she never refused to communicate with her. Her love for her mother was perhaps more pure than my marital love, but then Kendra's love did not require fidelity. And that was a huge difference. About a week after the little scene with Amber, Janice called me right after I got home from work. She chatted about our daughter for a few minutes. I realized that I was enjoying our conversation. My anger seemed to have subsided significantly. I think any fire can burn for a long time and then go out when the fuel runs out. "Jeff, could we meet for dinner tomorrow night? I would like to discuss a few issues with you personally. I know it's already tomorrow, and you might have a date, but I thought, maybe we can make it to the Rusty Nail by 7? I interrupted. "I'll wait at the bar if you're late." "That would be great, Jeff. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you," Janice replied enthusiastically. "I won't be late." I arrived a few minutes early, so I sat down at the bar and ordered a beer. I picked up my mug and turned to look at the customers. And then I saw Janice gliding towards me. I almost spilled my beer when I saw how great she looked. She was wearing a short black dress that revealed not only her small leg, but also her cleavage. Janice has always been a beautiful woman, but I forgot what a gorgeous figure she has. She kissed me on the cheek and smiled sweetly. "Jeff, I'm not going to beat around the bush explaining why I wanted to see you tonight," Janice said as soon as we ordered the food. "Over the past 6 months, I have managed to become the best salesperson in our office. My reward is a week's stay in a nice hotel in the Keys. It's for two, Jeff." "Congratulations, Janice." "I bet Mike is thrilled. He probably could have even told you about it by now." "I heard that his jaw has healed well," I teased. Janice shuddered, then forced a sad smile. She seemed determined to ignore my caustic remarks. "I saw this coming, Jeff. Maybe you haven't heard, but I haven't seen Mike since that day. I haven't dated anyone. That's probably why I became the bestseller. I've been doing nothing but work and sleep for the last 6 months," Janice admitted. "There's only one person I'd like to take with me, and that's you." "We would have given the divorce procedure a bad name, Janice." "Why ask me? What do you expect to hear in response? You know how much it hurt me when I found out that you were cheating on me. Why would I agree to something like this? And why are you even asking about it?" I asked quietly. "You'll get a free vacation. You can have as much of me as you want. You should have seen how much I've changed and how much I want to make it up to you, Jeff. Just take me for a test drive and see what happens." "You've become a very good salesman, Janice," I confessed. "But I'm afraid I'll give you the wrong signal if I go with you. We're divorced, and we're going to stay that way." "I understand that, Jeff. I really want to try it. I'm not asking anything from you. You can use me any way you want, anytime." "You'll forget about this Amber in the first hour with me," Janice predicted. "Is this about Amber?" I asked. "We're not serious. In fact, it was the first and last time I saw her after our divorce. She's not a problem." "No, Jeff, it's not about her. It's about you and me, about us. I just want you to see how well I can treat you. At least we can be friends with privileges, as they say these days. There will be no pressure from my side." Why did Janice do this to me? Sitting across from her at the table, I felt all those feelings for her that I thought I had buried forever. She was a very desirable woman, and she knew it. The thought of making love to her again, that solved everything for me. "Janice, I might not even be able to lift it for you. I was just desperate when I found out about your affair. My confidence has suffered a lot. I've discovered that I don't really like humiliation," I warned. "Jeff, I'm sure we'll get this scoundrel up. I know I've hurt you terribly. I'll have a chance to make it up to you a little bit. I don't have false expectations. Use me and throw me aside when you're done with me," Janice insisted. "I do have some free time, Janice. I'll call you tomorrow and let you know when I can go. Just remember what you told me, and don't expect anything to change after the trip," I warned. "Jeff, I'm so glad you agreed. You won't regret it. I promise that." 3 weeks later, we checked into a very nice hotel on the beach. Janice was beaming. I was a little embarrassed when I found out that we were registered as Mr. and Mrs. Davenport, but it would have been more trouble than it would have been worth to clarify. Our room overlooked the bay, and the view of the sun at sunset was spectacular. I was standing on the balcony, enjoying the sights and sounds, when I felt Janice snuggle up to me. I looked at her over my shoulder. She was naked and smiling at me. It took about 10 seconds to dispel the idea that my equipment would not work in Janice's presence. 2 hours later, we left the room. I found that the experience of interacting with other women increased my self-confidence and ability to be liked. I surprised Janet with a few new techniques I learned. Janice was ready to try anything I suggested. She was ready and eager to please me. I began to remember the reasons why I had asked her to marry me many years ago. We went swimming, snorkeling, shopping, and sunbathing every day. We made love at night. It was a great vacation. Janice didn't play golf, but she insisted that I sneak onto the course at the end of the week. "I'm just going to play raise by the pool and read a book," she said, pushing me out the door so I wouldn't be late. I played one of the best rounds of my life that day. The next day, Janice signed up for a full-time hotel spa. She promised that she would finish and join me at the hotel bar by 5. It was after 6 when she slid onto the stool next to me. Sorry I'm late, Jeff, she apologized. It takes longer than before to make this middle-aged lady beautiful. I hope you think it was worth it. Janice looked absolutely amazing. That evening we had dinner and danced for several hours. I couldn't help but notice how men of all ages followed her with their eyes as she walked through the room. However, all good things come to an end. Sunday afternoon found us on a plane flying home. I was as relaxed as I hadn't been in months, maybe even years. Did you have a good time, Jeff? Janice whispered. Do you want to join the High Altitude Miles Club? I've heard that they spit on your wishes from above. No pun intended, I grinned. Of course, I will refuse, unless they play Shakespeare in Love. Well, Jeff, would you like to put your shoes under my bed? Janice asked. I think I've shown you how much I love you and that I'd do anything for you, darling. I don't expect you to marry me again unless you really want to. We could just live together for a while and see what happens. Janice, the last week has been one of the best in my life. You're a beautiful woman. Any man would be proud to have you by his side. You were incredible in bed and funny all day long. This trip was a good idea. I have learned something about myself, and the importance of this cannot be overestimated, I replied. Janice gave me a beautiful smile, snuggling closer to me, taking my hand in hers and cuddling up to her. Don't keep me in the dark, she pleaded. What is so important that you have learned about yourself? You were the perfect companion, Janice. A man can't ask for a better vacation or a nicer woman to spend it with her. Do you remember the day when I went to play golf all day, and you decided to relax by the pool? And the next day you went to the spa and joined me almost an hour later than agreed? You'll never guess what was going on in my head while I was away from you, Janice. You couldn't wait to come back to me so we could make love? What is it? She asked shyly. Actually, I realized that I would never be able to trust you again. That part of our relationship has disappeared forever. I was wondering if you were flirting with someone by the pool while I was playing golf. I wonder if you're still in the salon, or have you already run off with someone to make love to them? I realize that this may well be a mental problem that I have developed in myself, and that you are most likely doing exactly what you told me to do. If you want to meet me from time to make love, I'm more than ready, Janice. There will be no other type of commitment beyond this. We can't have a relationship if I don't trust you, and I don't trust you. I'm glad I realized this before I made a huge mistake. We just need to get together from time to time. Maybe we'll go dancing again. We'll be friends with the privileges you mentioned when you asked me to go on vacation with you. Janice didn't answer. She just buried her face in my hand and sobbed softly. I didn't enjoy her suffering, but the seed she sowed many months ago took root.